Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Along the far downstream stretches of the Colorado River, about an hour and a half outside of Las Vegas, you'll find Nevada's southernmost city, the town of Laughlin. But what exactly is out there anyhow? Today on CityCast Las Vegas, I sit down with our Hey Las Vegas newsletter editor, Rob Coucherice. He's a travel writer, too, who recently created a guide to Laughlin for Thrillists. And Rob fills me in on all the hidden gems this tiny town has to offer. It's Tuesday, August 6th. I'm David Figler, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Rob, how did Laughlin come to be its own city? I mean, wait, is it a formal city?
I think technically Laughlin is not a city. It's more of an unincorporated town or territory. Laughlin's funny because it's so close to Vegas, about 90 minutes away if you drive, that it can very easily get overshadowed by Vegas and the tourist market. I didn't even know Laughlin existed until I saw TV ads for a show named Viva Laughlin. Do you remember that?
I do. Wait, was Rob Lowe in that?
I'm not sure about that.
I just looked it up.
Yeah.
It had Hugh Jackman as the lead.
Oh my gosh.
That's better than a Rob Lowe.
I think so.
Arguably. I mean, I don't want to offend anybody.
And I never saw the show, but I believe there was a musical component to it.
Yeah? It was a murder mystery musical series?
Something like that, yeah.
Wow.
But
okay.
It got canceled pretty quickly. But that was the first I had heard of Laughlin. And so when I first moved to Vegas, I did make a drive down there to check it out. And I've covered it a few times for Thrillist. We kind of update the story every few years. But Laughlin doesn't really change that much. I mean, if you go back to when the town began, I mean, originally it was just this little, like, 8-room motel on the water.
Yeah.
And back in 1964, Don Laughlin.
The namesake.
There was actually a guy named Laughlin.
Yeah.
He was the owner of the 101 Club in North Las Vegas. So he was a developer. He was flying a plane over the Colorado River. And this is right by the border of Nevada and Arizona. And he just saw a world of potential in this little area, this little strip of land. And it's right near Bullhead City. And Don Laughlin took this motel, turned it into a resort that became known as Don Laughlin's Riverside Resort. And now it has 2 hotel towers, and the area has just grown from there. It's got a little Laughlin Strip of hotels along the water.
Laughlin Strip.
The Laughlin
it's
Strip.
all kind of in the same line, and I like that you're calling it the Laughlin Strip as a comparison to our own.
And what's kind of cool is you're like 2 minutes from like everything, because you're like, oh, just meet me at the end of the strip. It's like 2 minutes away. Everything's 2 minutes away. And it's just very quiet. It's kind of like you get a little taste of Vegas. You know, you get some gambling, you get some entertainment, you get some bright neon lights, but at a fraction of the cost, a lot less chaos, the parking's still free, and you get this beautiful river alongside it, which is the one thing Vegas doesn't have.
Right. Well, we don't have a real river. There's plenty of faux rivers here and there asunder.
We have Mandalay Bay Beach. Does that count? It's a lazy river.
It does on some level.
The one thing I do know is this whole thing kind of came together almost like, I don't know if spur of the moment is the right way to put it, but when they were naming this town, or whatever you want to call it, Don Laughlin didn't even want to name it after himself. I believe there was a postmaster who had to give this zip code a name, so he just kind of went with Laughlin because he liked the sound of it.
Well, there you go. It's still a part of southern Nevada and Clark County. So what else distinguishes it besides the river from other small spots in our county, like Mesquite or Overton?
Yeah, well, Laughlin, you're going to get like a great deal on things like gambling. But I think the one thing you get that you don't get in Vegas is like a sense of just like calm, a charming, relaxing presence. You're not dealing with heavy traffic. You're not dealing with construction or, what's coming up or being taken down by F1. You're just kind of like going there to enjoy your time in the hotel, to enjoy your casinos and your slot machines, and maybe catch a show or two. Now, you're not going to see like Adele or Bruno Mars, but you might see somebody like Jay Leno or Blood, Sweat, and Tears play the Edge Pavilion, which is a small little event space. They also have a Laughlin outdoor amphitheater, which has no parking. Everybody just kind of walks there from the hotel. And you might see some bigger country acts play there. But you've got the river and you've got just like a sense of calm, and it's going to be a fraction of the price. There's not really a lot in the way of big, fancy restaurants. You're not really going to get a lot of celebrity chefs like you do in Vegas. But if you do go to Harrah's on the river there, you do have Guy Fieri, and he has a restaurant there. That's the one example of a celebrity chef in Laughlin.
Oh, Guy Fieri, UNLV's favorite son, or one of them. Well, I was a little surprised that over 8,000 people live in Laughlin. So what do we know about folks who live in Laughlin as opposed to the Strip, which I'm sure outnumbers the residents, people who are visiting? Is there politics down there? Do they get riled up about stuff?
There was, I think, a big controversy about trash in the river. They used to have this kind of regatta that got a little messy at one point. But I think everybody there is kind of there to escape the chaos that you find in bigger cities. You have a lot of people on the other side of the river in Bullhead City, and that's a fast-growing community as well. They actually have like a Target there now. They just added a new bridge to go across the river from the Nevada side to the Arizona side. But you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and people just want to take their boat, go to the nearest launch, spend the day on the river, or maybe zip around on a jet ski. And it's just very calm and peaceful, and you're just away from all the chaos.
Yeah, and the people who live there, they still are part of the Clark County School District, but I'm guessing they have their own groove, their own vibe.
I think so. Everybody's just like chill and friendly. I'd say it skews a little on the older side. Not a lot of nightclubbing down there, but there's a few bars.
So, Rob, how would you convince someone from Las Vegas that they should go make the trek down to Laughlin?
Well, the thing that stood out to me the first time I stayed at Laughlin, and I think it was the Golden Nugget down there, I believe the resort fee was like $10 a night. And I'm like, this is a nice change of pace for Vegas, where I can check in. It's easy. The parking's right there. The parking's free. And I'm not going to start getting headaches and start calculating my room tab as I'm checking in and wondering how this is going to turn out in the end. And I did a little research, and I think the most expensive resort fee now at Don Laughlin's Riverside Resort is $22 a night.
And how does that compare to Vegas Strip resort fees?
At the most expensive hotels in Vegas right now, the resort fee is around $50 a night right now. Some of them even creep over to like $52. So that's obviously just a big change of pace right there.
Now, actually, sometimes we like to get out of town, but like just do a little day trip, and we pick places that we can get to and back in the same day. Not terribly long ago, I think it was last summer, we decided to take the dog on a little road trip, and we went down to Laughlin just to see what we can do down there. And we wound up at like this cutie little park. I think it was called Heritage Greenway Park. It was newish. It was very, very clean. There were picnic tables available.
Right.
So it was nice that they had that amenity.
Yeah, I think you definitely kind of tap into a love of the great outdoors. Like, you're not just there to see a show or gamble. You're there to just kind of be outside. I mean, you've got the river walk, and just, having dinner and then strolling down the river walk is just like a nice thing to do all by itself. And they've got little water taxis if you want to take those and kind of pay just to go on the boat from casino dock to casino dock, which is something you definitely don't see in Vegas. But there's a few little parks there. There's the Big Bend of the Colorado State Recreation Area, which kind of has like these two almost twin beaches. And you can just go and stretch out on the sand there. There's a few other smaller beaches For example, like if you go to Harrah's or a couple of the other resorts, they have a little kind of small mini beach that you can stretch out at. Or Davis Camp, which is an area near the Davis Dam, which sort of anchors the far end of Laughlin.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that they have things down there that aren't just the casinos. I think a lot of people have a misconception about Laughlin, that it's just a bunch of, like, older school casinos.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, we were down there. We went to the park. There were trails nearby. I think they have almost 9 miles of trails for bicyclists. And
Yeah,
even,
and what's kind of cool is it's right there. There's an area called Grapevine Canyon. And if you go down there, you'll see petroglyphs, prehistoric graffiti written on the rocks. And it's not like a big adventure to get out there like it is at Valley of Fire from Vegas, for example. Like you can just take, like a Jeep out there or a tour guide or your own car if you're feeling ambitious. And then you just kind of go out there and you walk across this flat area that used to be a riverbed. And it's basically a dry riverbed right now. And you can cross that and just like look at the rocks, and it's just very scenic. If you go across,
I mean, it's no Valley of Fire. You mentioned Valley of Fire. I mean,
it's not it's not bright.
There's no place on
rocks.
earth like Valley of Fire, but no, I mean, Laughlin is a very different experience, but definitely pleasant. Whereas Valley of Fire could be very unpleasant, as pretty as it is.
Yeah, but it's Valley of Fire is a big commitment. I think Laughlin is about letting those commitments go. Just walking around, hanging out. I always like to go to Oatman when I'm in Laughlin.
Or what's
which
that?
Is just a short drive away on the Arizona side. It's like an old, I wouldn't call it quite a ghost town. It's a little too active than that. But it's this old Route 66 cowboy town. And a lot of the original buildings are still there. They're historically preserved. And you could go and grab a drink or lunch at an old saloon. Burros roam the streets. Kind of like they do in
my
Beatty.
burros in the streets.
But
That's
they're
fun.
even more present there in Oatman. And, there's the rules that you got to follow. You don't honk your horn at the burros. They always have the right of way.
Yes.
Don't feed them any
Don't
stray.
spook the burros, friends.
No, they are in charge.
They always have the right of way.
They always have the right of way. And don't feed them anything weird, like some snack you're munching on. Just buy some, there's some grass snacks that people sell for $1, and they're alfalfa grass, alfalfa squares that you can buy for $1 and sell
Although
them.
I'm on the camp of humans shouldn't be feeding the wildlife.
No, but they're coming to you. It's like their town. They roam the streets. They come and they want to get fed. So don't feed them the burger you just had for lunch. Feed them the alfalfa squares.
The land down under has never been easier to reach. United Airlines has more flights between the U.S. and Australia than any other U.S. airline, so you can fly nonstop to destinations like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. Explore dazzling cities, savor the very best of Aussie cuisine, and get up close and personal with the wildlife. Who doesn't want to hold a koala? Go to united.com/Australia to book your adventure.
This podcast brought to you by Ring. With Ring cameras, you can check on your pets to catch them in the act.
Izzy, drop that.
Or just keep them company.
Aw, I'll be home soon.
Make sure they're okay while you're away with Ring. Learn more at ring.com/pets.
Well, Rob, it sounds like you and I are actually putting together pretty good day trips down to Laughlin. Are there any eats or drinks that you haven't mentioned that you'd like to highlight down there?
Yeah. So, like I said, Laughlin isn't really known for a big fancy dining scene. The Guy Fieri restaurant I mentioned, El Burro Borracho at Harrah's, there's kind of a version of that, or there was a version of that up here at the Rio, I believe. But if you want to go fancy, and this is fancy for Laughlin, there's a place called the Gourmet Room at Riverside Resort, which is kind of like an old school, plush red furniture, crystal chandeliers. There's a live piano player in the corner, and you can get a nice steak or seafood. I think some of the menu kind of has some French touches to it. They have a French onion soup. So that's if you're going to go fancy, That's where you would go in Laughlin. And even that,
I'm hearing quotation marks around that word fancy, Rob. It was in your tone.
it's a lowercase fancy. It's a light
Fair.
font on the fancy. But you have a great view of the river from the restaurant itself, and you're going to pay a fraction of the price than what you would pay at a steakhouse in Vegas. And then there's a couple cool like breakfast spots that I really like. One of them is called the Chuck Wagon, which is in this tiny place called the Regency Casino, which doesn't even have a hotel attached to it. It's just kind of like sandwiched between two hotels. It has a giant parking lot and then this almost dive bar and mini casino, just like sitting on the river. And you almost feel like you're in like an old, cowboy restaurant kind of thing, just like an old school, something that would be inside some Victorian saloon, but you're inside and you're looking out over the water and you're just having kind of like a steak and eggs, and it's just the best way to wake up in the morning.
What's funny is that like whenever I go down there, and I've gone down there more than I tend to admit, for different reasons.
There's no shame in going to Laughlin.
There is no shame, but to me it always kind of like, and I don't mean this in a negative way, although Laughlin as a city has often misconstrued my public comments about it. I have a story. But it just reminds me of the 1970s, the late 1970s, in a lot of ways. Even the throwback Victorian stuff, it all kind of is time capsule-y on some level, no matter what they do to modernize it. And I think that's a loving way to describe the experience down. It's almost a little time warpy.
Right.
But not specific. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I think a lot of people, they kind of crave that. Maybe it's a nostalgia fix. Maybe it's a backlash to what Vegas is today. But you know how Mesquite always markets itself, or at least one of its most popular casinos markets itself as the way Vegas used to be. But as much as I like Mesquite, I think Laughlin is more like the way Vegas used to be. People who are regulars there will talk about how some of the dealers at the casino or some of the people that work at the restaurants really do remember them by name when they come back year after year, or just, want to get away from wherever they live in California or Arizona or Vegas or the parts of Nevada. And I think it's sort of like that friendliness, that feeling that you're not getting price gouged around every corner. And you just have this kind of scenic environment by the river and just enough excitement with the neon lights, with the sound of the slot machines. And one of the things I like best about Laughlin is just at night, when you see those neon lights from the casinos just kind of dance on the water or bounce on the water on the river, that's a sight that you don't get quite the same anywhere else.
Yeah, and it is still part of our county, which is so cool. What sort of amenities would you like to see in Laughlin that aren't there?
They really need like a good cocktail lounge,
Oh.
I know we've talked about speakeasy.
They have some divey places, but you're saying like maybe a little more
They do. They have like
modern.
They have like some sports bars, including one where the staff is in bikinis. I think that's as saucy as Laughlin gets.
Yeah.
But as much as we have speakeasy fatigue in Las Vegas, I think Laughlin could use a speakeasy, a little hidden cocktail lounge where
maybe
you
on a boat.
Ooh, well, they do a few river tours, like dinner tours. I think I went one year and there was an Elvis impersonator on board.
Of course.
And my wife and I loved it.
There you go.
It was so good. And they did have enough variety on the bar on the boat to make it worth our while to get a few drinks down there. They'll customize a few things for you if you ask nicely.
Yeah. Well, I know that you're a little precise with your cocktail preferences, so that's good that they could accommodate you.
I do have my preferences, yeah. But you know what? We could skip the $22 price tag in Vegas and get a nice cocktail for, I don't know, $12 in Laughlin, maybe less.
That's worth the price of gas right there.
It's going to more than even out.
Yeah. You mentioned Bullhead City being right across the river. What is the relationship between Laughlin and Bullhead City? Is there stuff over there, too, that you could visit?
Well, the funniest part is part of the year, they're on different time zones.
Oh, right, because Arizona has that weird mountain time or whatever it's called.
Right. So, well, Arizona just did away with the whole daylight savings nonsense, and we're still going to keep the same time year round. So, Nevada's the one that actually goes off and on and messes it all up.
Yeah.
But you have to be very specific. If you're meeting somebody who's more familiar with the Arizona side, on the Laughlin side, you got to be specific about which time you're meeting at. Otherwise, things can get confusing pretty quickly.
Is there destination-worthy stuff on the Bullhead City side?
Okay, one of my favorite places on the Bullhead City side is actually named the Spa at Laughlin Ranch. And it's this growing residential community, but with a golf course and a spa right in the middle of it. And you can go there and get a massage, but they also have a nice restaurant on there that has a great, kind of ranch vibe to it. And I had an amazing salmon salad that was a big chunk of fresh salmon on it, and it was so delicious. It was almost as good as any salmon I've had in Vegas. That wasn't some fancy fine dining establishment, but that's a good spot. I think it's my favorite lunch spot in town.
Well, Rob, some of the properties in Laughlin, I think you admit, are starting to get a little old and maybe looking a little dated. If you were the mayor of Laughlin or the overlord of Laughlin with a magic wand, what sort of changes might you make to keep Laughlin relevant and moving forward as time progresses?
Yeah, it's funny because Laughlin hasn't really been around that long, and it started to develop pretty quickly as a tourist destination, and then it really kind of leveled off. I'm not sure exactly when the latest resort has been built in Laughlin, but it's been a long time. So the resorts are good about updating, they're good about refreshing, but they haven't really had the need to add anything new on the hotel side. So I think maybe they just need their own version of the Sphere, don't you think?
Ooh, or Fontainebleau, just something that's just so much taller than the rest of the city, like a beacon.
That just dominates the landscape.
Yeah.
I think they need a little mini Sphere on the river that
There you
everybody
go.
can watch. Maybe the shows like you see on the Lake of Dreams at the Wynn, where like a little frog comes out and does a dance or something.
Oh, that's so much fun. Or a Sphere that doesn't have like $100 movies inside, but like the old Omnimax that used to be at Caesar's Palace. You would just go inside for like $20 and see a really cool, 4D film or an IMAX film.
Right, and you see like the stars shining on the roof. But you can see the stars anyway because the light pollution is so minimal compared to Vegas.
Rob, thanks so much for joining us on this tour through Laughlin.
This was fun. Thank you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? You can also rate the show. We love those 5-star ratings. Makes us feel good inside. Leave us a review too and subscribe to our morning newsletter that Rob edits, Hey Las Vegas. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Till then, stay lucky.
But Deadpool and Wolverine Visit Laughlin, I think, is the action movie everybody needs.